Hi, welcome to another higher tier revision video. Today I'm looking at the cosine rule, and this is a page taken from the GCSE higher tier revision workbook for Edexcel. This is topic or page 100 in their revision booklet. Find the length of the sides marked with the letters. So here we're looking at x, so we're going to be dealing with three sides at an angle, which implies that we're using the cosine rule. Cosine rule is a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. I don't tend to use that very often. I tend to go straight to plugging it in as they've suggested in the guide. How far have they got? It would have been easier if this was all in one line. So they've said x squared is going to be equal to 16.5 squared plus 22.3 squared minus two lots of, and then so technically, if I kind of go, call that A, that B, that C, that capital A. So I would have labelled those the other way around, but it makes no difference at all. So we're looking at 16.5 times by 22.3 times by cos of the angle, which is 23. And then we can just type that into our calculator. So 16.5 squared plus 22.3 squared. I've gone the long way around. Typing that in, minus two lots of 16.5 times by 22.3 times by cos of 23. That gives me 92.1404. Again, I would tend to write the answer more accurately than asked for before rounding, but they've not really given space for that, which is fairly common in these books. So I would say that was going to be 5. Does it say a degree of accuracy? It doesn't. I tend to go one more than the question, so we'd go 2 decimal places. So 9.60. Okay, for this one, we haven't got the guide, but I would go in a similar method really. Y squared is going to be equal to 18.5 squared. I tend to put the longest side squared just by convention, minus two lots of 18.5 times by 14.7 times by cos of the angle, cos 32. So I'd go y squared is equal to, and I would often miss out this line of work and then go straight to the square rooted version, but there's no issue putting it in. I missed my 0.7 there. Minus 2 times by 18.5 times by 14.7 times by cos of 32. So that's going to be my value for x. We're looking, y squared. Miswrote. 97.08664 ... So y is going to be equal to the square root of that, so just less than 10. This time we're looking at 9.85325 ... So I'm going to go 9.85. Okay, question 2. Find the sides of the angles marked with the letter. So we've got three sides and three sides and an angle, so that tells us it's the cosine rule, and it's the angle that we're trying to work out. From their guide, they've jumped straight to the rearrangement of the formula, which would be b squared plus c squared minus a squared divided by 2 times bc. So we'll use that. So I tend to put the longest of the two so it's going to be the opposite here, and then the other two either way around. I tend to do the largest first, but that's my personal preference. It doesn't affect my answer. And 15.6 there. And they've gone straight to cos to the minus 1, which is great. So I'm going to type that in there. 23.2 squared plus 15.6 squared minus 18.3 squared, and I want to divide that then by 2 times by 23.2 times by 15.6. So that gives me that as my value, and I'm going to go shift, actually they've left a space for that, 0.617 dot dot dot. I would include the next step, so shift cos and then the answer. So I make that 51.8924 dot dot dot. So I'm going to go 51.89 to 2 decimal places. And my next one, exactly the same really. So I'm going to go, I'm going to actually go slightly further. I'm going to type it in as cos to the minus 1 of 19.7 squared plus 11.4 squared minus 29.5 squared divided by 2 lots of 19.7 times by 11.4. Right, so I'm going to go half. As a fraction, I'm going to type it in 19.7 squared plus 11.4 squared minus 29.5 squared, and then divide that by 2 times by 19.7 times by 11.4. Right, check that I've typed everything in correctly. Can't see any problems. So, and that does seem reasonable as an answer. If we think about it, this is a much longer side than these 2 dimensions, so we would be expecting an obtuse angle. So 141.6403 dot dot dot. So I'm looking at 141.64, so 141.64. Okay, question 3. We're given a triangle, calculate the length of AB. So I'm going to call that X for now. And I'm going to jump straight to saying then that X squared is going to be equal to 9 squared plus, no, my longest side squared. I'll stick to my convention. 17 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 17 times 9 times by cos of the angle, so cos of 68. So X squared is going to be equal to 17 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 17 times 9 times cos of the angle 68, and assuming I've typed that incorrectly, we get 255.3703 dot dot dot. So X is going to be equal to square root of the answer, so 15.9803 dot dot dot. So I'd give my answer as 15, 3 significant figures, 15, I wouldn't give it as 15, I would give it as 16.0 to 3 significant figures. Okay, question 4. 2 boats leave a port P. Boat A sails on a bearing of 74 for 40 kilometers and stop. Boat B sails on a bearing of 145 for 60 kilometers and stop. How far are the 2 boats apart when they stop? Okay, so I'm going to draw a diagram just to help me out a little bit here. So 74 degrees is going to roughly look like that. So remember, bearings are always measured from a northerly direction. So that's 74. And then that length there is 40. Let me clear up my working just to make it a bit of a better diagram. So I'm going to put 74 there, and I'm going to say that that is 40 kilometers, and I'm going to call that A. And then boat B sails on a bearing of 145 degrees, so that's going to be kind of down here. And we've got an angle of 145 there, which I'm not going to just put on just yet. 60 kilometers. And it's asking how far the boats are apart. So I'm going to call that X. And here, if I want to work out this angle here, I know that that's 74 degrees. I know that that total bearing is 145 degrees. So that's going to be 145 minus 74. That angle is going to be 71 degrees. And then that tells us we're using the cosine rule. 3 sides and an angle. So x squared is going to be equal to 60 squared plus 40 squared minus 2 lots of 60 times 40 times by cos of 71. So x squared is going to be equal to 60 squared plus 40 squared. I missed my square off there. Plus 40 squared minus 2 times by 60 times by 40 times by cos of the angle, so cos of 71. So I make that 3,637.27 28 ... So x is going to be equal to the square root of that, so square root of the answer. So we're looking at 60.3098 ... It doesn't say the degree of accuracy. We've got 2, arguably 3 significant figures here, so I'm going to go 60.31. Okay, and that is topic 100, the cosine rule from the Edexcel GCSE higher tier revision workbook. Hope you found that useful. If you have, please subscribe if you like.